How dare you show your face here after everything you've done?
You've got a lot of nerve coming into this house. Get out of my house. You're not welcome here.
I can't even look at her. She killed my baby.
My brother's pregnant wife demanded my house. When I said no, she threatened to get rid of her baby. My family sided with her. All you care about is yourself. So I left. And 2 months later I found out the shocking news. Well, let's go. I'm Jessica. I'm 32 and I work as a mobile app developer at a pretty standard IT company. Nothing fancy, but the pay is decent. We got good health insurance and I finally paid off my college loans last year. Been saving up for years to buy my own place. Let me tell you about my family first because they're kind of important to this mess. There's my parents. Mom's 58, Dad's 60, both retired now. Then there's my younger brother Rowan. He's 30. We used to be close growing up, but things got weird after he got married 2 years ago. See, Rowan married this woman named Clarabelle. She's, how do I put this nicely, is the type who makes everything about herself. Very dramatic. Always has to be the center of attention. She bosses Rowan around like he's a kid. And honestly, she does the same thing to my parents. They just let her walk all over them. I learned to keep my distance from Clarabelle pretty early on. The whole wedding thing was a nightmare. My family, and I mean all of them including my parents, expected me to pay for Rowan and Clarabelle's entire wedding. $45,000. Can you believe that? I had been saving for my house for years at that point, and they wanted me to blow it all on their party. I gave them 12 grand, which I thought was generous enough. But Clarabelle, she completely lost it. She actually told me I couldn't be a bridesmaid anymore because I wasn't supportive enough of their love. My parents took their side, of course. They didn't talk to me for months. Didn't even invite me to Christmas that year. Christmas over a wedding that wasn't even mine. Eventually things cooled down and we started talking again, but I kept Clarabelle at arm's length. Rowan seemed happy enough with her, so I figured it wasn't my business. I just focused on my work and saving money. The IT world has been good to me. I've been with my company for 5 years now, working on mobile apps mostly for small businesses. Nothing that'll change the world, but it pays the bills and then some. I live pretty simply, had a decent 1-bedroom apartment, drove a reliable Honda, didn't blow money on fancy stuff. Every month I put away as much as I could toward that house fund. I had it all planned out. Find a nice 3-bedroom house in a good neighborhood, put down 20%, get a reasonable mortgage. I've been looking at houses online for over a year, getting pre-approved for loans, the whole deal. But I kept it quiet. Didn't tell my family about the house hunting or how much I'd saved up. Experience taught me that if they knew I had money sitting around, they'd find ways to ask for it. After the wedding drama, I made a rule for myself. Keep financial stuff private. My parents have never been great with money. Dad worked construction until his back gave out. Mom did part-time retail. They're not bad people, but they've always lived paycheck to paycheck. And Rowan, he works at a car dealership, makes okay money. But Clarabelle has expensive tastes. The thing is, whenever I'd helped them out before and I had plenty of times, they never paid me back. It was always asterisk. We'll get you next month or once. Things settled down. Asterisk, but next month never came. Things never settled down. So, I learned to just not mention when I was doing well. I spent months looking at houses online, driving through neighborhoods on weekends, going to open houses. I knew exactly what I wanted. Something move-in ready, good schools nearby even though I don't have kids yet, decent commute to work. I must have looked at 50 places before I found the one. It was perfect. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, nice kitchen, hardwood floors, a little backyard. Built in the 1980s but well maintained. The neighborhood was quiet, mostly young families and a few older couples. The kind of place where people actually talk to their neighbors and kids ride bikes in the street. The asking price was fair for the market and I had enough saved up to put down 25% instead of 20%. My offer got accepted on the first try. I couldn't believe it was actually happening. After years of planning and saving and dreaming, I was going to be a homeowner. The whole buying process took about 6 weeks. Inspections, appraisals, paperwork, more paperwork. I took time off work to be there for everything. The day I got the keys was honestly one of the best days of my life. I just stood there in the empty living room holding those keys, thinking about how this was mine. Really mine. I spent the next 2 weeks moving out of my apartment and into the house. Hired movers for the big stuff, but I did a lot of it myself. Bought some new furniture. Nothing crazy expensive, but stuff that actually fit the space properly. A real dining table, a decent couch, a bed frame that wasn't from IKEA. Felt like being an adult for the first time. You know, the whole time I was moving and settling in, I didn't tell my family. I kept meaning to call them, but I was just so busy getting everything sorted out. Plus, honestly, I was enjoying having this thing that was just mine that they couldn't have opinions about or make demands on, but I knew I'd have to tell them eventually. We talked on the phone every couple weeks, and my mom was starting to ask questions about why I was always busy with stuff around the house when I still supposedly lived in an apartment. So, finally, about 3 weeks after I'd moved in and got everything set up the way I wanted, I called my mom. I didn't give her the address or anything, just told her I'd bought a house and was settling in. Her reaction was weird. There was this long pause and then she said, "Oh my, well that's wonderful, honey. I'm so happy for you." She didn't sound happy. She sounded surprised and maybe a little upset. Then she said, "You should come to dinner this Saturday. We'd love to celebrate with you." I didn't think much of it at the time. Maybe she was just shocked that I'd actually done it, so I said, "Sure." Bought a nice bottle of wine to bring, and figured we'd have a nice family dinner where I could show them pictures and tell them about the house. Saturday came, and I drove over to my parents' house with my bottle of wine, feeling pretty good about everything. When I pulled into the driveway, Rowan's car was already there. That was fine. I figured Mom had invited him and Clarabelle to celebrate too. Family dinner, you know. Mom opened the door before I could even knock. "Jessica, come in. Come in." She seemed nervous, which was odd. She kept glancing back toward the living room. I barely made it through the front door when Clarabelle appeared from the kitchen. The second she saw me, she threw her hands up in the air and practically screamed, "I'm pregnant." I stopped dead in my tracks. Of all the things I expected to hear that day, that wasn't one of them. "Oh wow. Congratulations," I managed to say, even though something felt off about the timing. Here I was coming to celebrate my house. And suddenly, Clarabelle's dropping pregnancy news. "Thank you." Clarabelle grabbed my arm and started talking a mile a minute. I found out 3 days ago. Can you believe it? I'm so excited. Can barely think straight. We've already picked out names. Lena for a girl. Marcus for a boy. Oh, and we're going to need so much space for the nursery and everything. Rowan appeared behind her, grinning. "Hey sis, crazy news, right?" I handed my wine bottle to Mom, who took it and set it on the dining table. That's when I noticed the table was already set with their good dishes, candles lit, the works. But this wasn't set up to celebrate my house purchase. This was clearly about Clarabelle's pregnancy. "We're celebrating the baby tonight," Mom said, confirming what I'd already figured out. Clarabelle kept talking through dinner about morning sickness and doctor appointments and how she was already looking at baby gear online. She was acting like she was the first woman in history to get pregnant. Rowan hung on every word she said. "So Jessica," Mom finally said when Clarabelle paused to take a bite, "tell us about this house you bought." I pulled out my phone and showed them the photos I'd taken. "It's a 3-bedroom in Willowbrook. Got a great deal on it and the inspection came back clean. I'm really happy with it." Clarabelle grabbed my phone right out of my hands and started swiping through the pictures. Her whole mood changed as she looked at them. The excited smile disappeared and her face got darker with each photo. She shoved my phone back at me. "This house should be ours." I laughed because I thought she was joking. "What? I'm serious." Clarabelle crossed her arms. Rowan and I need this house more than you do. We're having a baby. I looked around the table. Mom and Dad were nodding. Rowan was nodding. They were all looking at me like this made perfect sense. I'm not giving you my house, I said. Are you kidding me right now? Mom leaned forward. Jessica, honey, Clarabelle has a point. They're starting a family. They need space for the baby. You're single. So what if I'm single? It's my house. I saved for years to buy it. Rowan muttered something under his breath about me. Being a blue stocking who'd never get married anyway. That stung more than I expected it to. This is ridiculous, I said, standing up. I'm not having this conversation. That's when Clarabelle completely lost it. She started screaming about how she was pregnant and needed space for the baby and didn't want to raise a child in their cramped apartment. She was crying and shouting at the same time. You don't deserve that house, she yelled. Asterisk, you're selfish. All you care about is yourself. Asterisk, I grabbed my purse. I'm leaving. If you don't give us that house, Clarabelle screamed, I'll get rid of this baby. Everyone went dead silent. Even I stopped moving toward the door. Did she just threaten to terminate her pregnancy to manipulate me into giving up my house? I expected Mom and Dad to tell her that was completely inappropriate. I expected Rowan to be horrified that his wife would say something like that. Instead, Rowan turned to me with this threatening look and said, asterisk, if anything happens to my child because of your selfishness, Jessica, that's on you. Asterisk, are you serious right now? Mom started in on me. You've driven a pregnant woman to desperation, Jessica. This is what your stubbornness has caused. Dad nodded along. You need to do the right thing here and give them the house. I couldn't listen to another word. I literally ran out of that house and drove home shaking. My phone started blowing up before I even got back to my place. Text after text from Mom, Dad, and Rowan calling me cruel and heartless. Clarabelle sent me a long message saying she was so upset she might lose the baby and it would be all my fault. They were using an unborn child as blackmail to steal my house, my own family. I blocked all their numbers and blocked them on social media. I needed time to think without them harassing me constantly. For the next few weeks, it was quiet. I threw myself into work and tried not to think about the whole mess. I decided to go ahead with my housewarming party. Anyway, I invited some colleagues, a few close friends, and my cousins Ivy and Colton. They'd always been cool and stayed out of family drama. The party was going great. Good food, good company. Everyone was admiring the house and congratulating me. I was finally starting to feel like myself again. Then my front door basically exploded open. Mom, Dad, Rowan, and Clarabelle stormed into my living room like they owned the place. How did you find my address? I demanded. Clarabelle immediately started her performance again, pressing her hand to her stomach and yelling about how this house belonged to her and her baby. But I noticed something different this time. She wasn't threatening to terminate the pregnancy anymore. She was being more careful with her words since there were strangers here. You need to leave, I told them. All of you right now. Clarabelle tried to flip my dining table and throw all the dishes on the floor. Thank God my colleague Miles grabbed her arms before she could destroy everything. Rowan got in Miles's face like he wanted to fight him. Don't touch my wife. It took several of us to get them out of my house, but by then the party was ruined. My guests left pretty quickly after that scene. I was mortified. The next morning, I woke up to find Clarabelle had started a Facebook campaign against me. She was posting pictures of empty cribs and baby strollers with captions like, "Your nephew could be sleeping here. And this is what Jessica is taking away from her family." It was sick. She was using pregnancy photos to guilt-trip me and anyone who might see her posts. The manipulation was next level. Had enough. I sent her one final message on Facebook. I will never give you my house. If you don't stop harassing me immediately, I'm filing a restraining order for harassment and extortion. This is your only warning. She stopped posting after that. For 2 whole weeks, everything was quiet. I actually started to relax and think maybe they'd finally gotten the message. Then on a Saturday morning, someone started pounding on my front door like they were trying to break it down. I looked through the peephole and saw Rowan standing there. His face was red and he looked furious. I didn't open the door. "Jessica," he shouted. "Open this door right now." "Go away, Rowan. You killed my baby," he screamed. "Clarabelle had a miscarriage and it's all your fault." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Even through all this insanity, the thought of losing a baby was horrible. Rowan kept yelling through the door, calling me every name in the book. I won't repeat what he said, but it was bad. Really bad. He blamed me for everything. Said I was a monster. Said the family was done with me forever. When he finally left, I collapsed on my couch and cried. Even knowing how manipulative Clarabelle was, even knowing they'd been trying to steal my house, I felt guilty. What if the stress really had caused a miscarriage? What if I was partially responsible? I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about that baby and wondering if I could have handled things differently. Sunday morning, I called my friend Lena. She'd been out of town on business during my housewarming party, but she knew Clarabelle from college. If anyone would give me an honest perspective on this whole mess, it would be Lena. "Lena, I need to talk to someone. Can you come over?" "Of course. What's wrong?" "You sound terrible." I told her everything. The house demands, the pregnancy announcement, the threats, the miscarriage. Lena listened without interrupting. "There's something I need to show you," she said when I finished. "I'll be there in an hour." When Lena arrived, she looked really serious. She sat down across from me and pulled out her phone. "Jessica, I've been going back and forth about whether to show you this, but after what you just told me, I can't keep quiet anymore." She opened her text messages and showed me a conversation with Clarabelle from a few days ago. I read the first message and my blood turned cold. Clarabelle had written asterisk, "Oh, this is working perfectly. Jessica actually thinks I'm pregnant. I can't believe how gullible she is." Asterisk Lena had responded, "Wait, what? You're not pregnant." "Of course not. But if I can convince her family I am, they'll pressure her to give us that house. Rowan's been wanting to move out of our apartment forever. And when I saw those house photos, I knew we had to have it. Clarabelle, this is insane. You can't fake a pregnancy." Asterisk watch me. "I already told Rowan's parents about the miscarriage I'm going to have. They're going to blame Jessica completely. She'll feel so guilty she'll hand over the house keys." Asterisk, "You made up a miscarriage too?" "Girl, I am committed to this plan. By next month, we'll be living in that house, and Jessica will be paying the mortgage." I stared at the phone screen in complete shock. She planned all of this. Lena nodded. "There's more." She scrolled down to show me more messages where Clarabelle talked about her performance at the dinner, how easy it was to manipulate Rowan and his parents, and how she was going to cry her eyes out when she told everyone about the fake miscarriage. "Can you send these to me?" "Yes." "Already done." I screenshotted everything and sent it to your email. I felt angry and relieved and disgusted all at the same time. Angry that my own family had chosen to believe this woman over me. Relieved that I wasn't actually responsible for a miscarriage. Disgusted that someone would fake a pregnancy and miscarriage just to steal a house. After Lena left, I spent the rest of the day thinking about what I was going to say. By the time I drove to my parents' house after work on Monday, I knew exactly how this was going to go down. Rowan's car was in the driveway, which was perfect. I wanted all of them there for this. Mom opened the door and immediately started yelling at me. "How dare you show your face here after what you've done?" I walked past her into the living room where Dad, Rowan, and Clarabelle were sitting. Clarabelle was wearing all black like she was in mourning. She had tissues in her hands and her eyes were red like she'd been crying. "You have some nerve coming here," Dad said. Rowan stood up. "Get out of my parents' house." Clarabelle started crying. "I can't even look at her. She killed my baby." "Everyone shut up and listen," I said, pulling out my phone. "I have something to show you." I held up the screenshots. "I have proof that Clarabelle was never pregnant." The room went dead silent. Clarabelle's face went completely white. "That's impossible," Mom said, but she was already walking over to look at my phone. Rowan grabbed the phone from Mom's hands and started reading. His expression changed with every line. "What is this?" he asked Clarabelle. "She's lying." Clarabelle jumped up. "She made those up to hurt me." "Then you won't mind if I ask to see the hospital paperwork from your miscarriage?" I said. Clarabelle's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Rowan was still reading the messages. "Clarabelle, did you make this up?" She started crying harder, but not the fake tears from before. These looked real. "I wanted us to have a house," she screamed. "We deserve it more than she does. She's just going to live there alone like some old spinster." The room exploded. Dad started yelling at Clarabelle. Mom was asking Rowan if he knew about this. Rowan was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. I turned to my parents. "You chose her lies over your own daughter. You supported her when she tried to steal from me. I'm done with all of you." I walked out of that house. And haven't been back since. A week after I exposed Clarabelle's lies, my parents showed up at my door. I saw them through the peephole and honestly they looked terrible. Mom had bags under her eyes and Dad seemed like he'd aged 10 years. I didn't want to let them in, but Mom called through the door. "Jessica, please. We need to apologize." I opened the door but didn't invite them inside. "What do you want?" "We were wrong," Dad said immediately. Completely wrong. "We should have believed you from the start." Mom was crying. "We're so sorry, honey. We got caught up in Clarabelle's manipulation and we failed you as parents." "You didn't just fail me," I said. "You actively supported someone who was trying to steal my house. You told me I was selfish and cruel for not giving up something I worked years to buy." "We know," Mom said. "There's no excuse for what we did." Dad cleared his throat. "Rowan is talking about divorce. He's been going to therapy trying to figure out how he got so mixed up in all this." "Good for him." Clarabelle has been going to therapy too," Mom added. "She seems to be getting help for her issues." I almost laughed. Her issues. She faked a pregnancy and threatened to fake an abortion to steal my house. That's not issues. That's criminal behavior. "You're right," Dad said. "We know you probably can't forgive us, but we had to try to apologize." "I'm not ready to forgive anyone yet," I told them. You all showed me exactly who you really are when you thought I had something you wanted." They left after that and I went back inside to my house. My house that I bought with my own money that I almost lost to my own family's greed and manipulation. That was 4 months ago. I haven't spoken to any of them since. Lena keeps me updated on the family drama. Apparently, Rowan did file for divorce, but then they decided to try counseling instead. Clarabelle has been posting a lot of mental health awareness stuff and talking about taking responsibility for past mistakes. She never mentions me or the house situation directly, but I know that's what she's referring to. My parents have tried calling a few times, but I don't answer. They've sent cards for my birthday and holidays, but I throw them away without reading them. Rowan sent me one text apologizing, but I deleted it. The thing is, I'm not even that angry anymore. I'm just done. The whole experience showed me that my family saw me as a bank account, not as a person. When they thought I had something they wanted, they were willing to destroy me to get it. Work is going great. I got promoted to senior developer last month, which came with a nice raise. I've been putting the extra money toward paying off my mortgage early. At this rate, I'll own my house free and clear in 12 years instead of 30. I've made some new friends through work and neighbors. Turns out when you're not constantly dealing with family drama, you have a lot more energy for building healthy relationships. My house is exactly what I dreamed it would be. I painted the spare bedrooms, turned one into a home office and the other into a guest room. I planted flowers in the backyard and bought a nice patio set. I host dinner parties sometimes, and my friends always comment on how peaceful and welcoming the space feels. The neighborhood is great too. The family next door has 2 kids who sometimes ask me to help with their math homework. The couple across the street invites me to their barbecues. It's the kind of community I always wanted to be part of. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever reconcile with my family. Lena thinks I should at least talk to my parents since they did apologize. But here's the thing. An apology doesn't undo the damage they did. They were willing to support someone who was literally trying to rob me. They chose a manipulative liar over their own daughter. Maybe someday I'll be ready to have a relationship with them again. Maybe Rowan will get his life together and realize how toxic Clarabelle was. Maybe my parents will truly understand why what they did was so hurtful. The funny part is that Clarabelle thought she was so clever with her fake pregnancy scheme. She probably figured that even if she got caught eventually, the family would forgive her and she'd still end up with some kind of relationship with everyone. But her plan backfired spectacularly. Rowan is questioning everything about their marriage. My parents are horrified that they supported her. And I'm completely out of their lives. She destroyed her own family trying to steal mine. I still get angry sometimes when I think about how close they came to succeeding. If Lena hadn't shown me those text messages, I might have actually felt guilty enough to give them money or help with a house down payment. The manipulation was that effective. But mostly, I feel grateful that I found out who they really were before I wasted any more years trying to maintain relationships that were fundamentally one-sided. My house is my sanctuary now. When I come home from work and unlock my front door, I feel nothing but peace. Well, family drama, no manipulation, no demands for money I earned through my own hard work. Just me, my career, my real friends, and the home I built for myself.